Good evening, everyone. Distinguished guests, colleagues, friends of Hayaan, and all who have joined us from different parts of the world. My name is Abdi Wahab, as you know, Abdullah Ahmed. It's my honor to serve as a moderator of this evening's webinar titled Managing Urban Heritage Cities. We will listen to our friend, Prof. Raymond, Lessons from Malta. On behalf of Hayaan, I warmly welcome you to this important conversation. Hayaan Heritage, as you know, is a cultural heritage organization dedicated to safeguarding, promotion of Somali heritage, both the tangible and intangible ones. Our work spans research, documentation, community awareness campaigns, and cultural program and advocacy. We believe heritage is not only a link to the past, but also a foundation to resilience and peacemaking. We are organizing this program because Somalia's historic cities like Mogadishu, Barawe, Marco, Alola, Hobyo, Berbera, and others facing critical moments. Neglect, conflicts have damaged buildings and cultural landmarks, and planned urbanization continues to put pressure on fragile historic neighborhoods, and the limited resource and weak protection frameworks leave many cities vulnerable. At Hayaan, we have done a lot of things to respond to this tragedy. One of the things we have done is the Brenton about the Heritage Court, which we launched early this year, which took participants to the historic city of Barawe, a city of remarkable Islamic and Azanian heritage. We are currently preparing first ever Islamic heritage awareness campaign in Somalia, scheduled 5th of October this year, which will celebrate Islamic cultural heritage and its role in shaping Somalia's identity. We have run community awareness campaigns on preservation and historic neighborhoods, both Mogadishu and Barawe. And in August last month, we issued a public condemnation statement following the destruction of several important historic buildings in Mogadishu, raising our voices to defend the city's heritage. We have also worked to bring this concern to the international stage, including outreach to the UNESCO 47th session of the World Heritage Committee, where we engage with stakeholders such as our distinguished guest today, Dr. Raymond Bondin. All of these efforts reflect our conviction that heritage matters and that safeguarding requires both local action and global solidarity. It's therefore deliberate to welcome Raymond Bondin, a senior consultant at Ministry of Culture in Malta and distinguished expert on the management of historic cities. Raymond has decades of experience. He's a trained archaeologist with doctorate in restoration, but combining both field expertise and theoretical knowledge. He's also a specialist in management of historic cities and sustainable preservation of cultural heritage. In leadership, Dr. Bondin served for over 20 years as the official responsible for Malta's historic cities, including Valletta, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. He also oversees the rehabilitation and conservation projects that balance preservation with modern urban needs. His international roles, he collaborated with UNESCO for over 30 years, contributing to those evaluation and monitoring missions for UNESCO World Heritage Sites across the globe. He was the former chairperson of Maltese National Commission for UNESCO. He conducted advisory work worldwide promoting legal protection, sustainable planning, and community involvement. One of the notable positions he took was he served 8 years on the ECOROM Council, supporting capacity building and training in the conservation. He served 9 years on the ECOMOS executive, helping shape global policy on heritage conservation. He's an active member of CIVVIH, International Committee on Historic Towns and Villages, for 7 years, engaging in debates and safeguarding the heritage. Some of the field missions he's doing. Recently, he was working with Azerbaijan and Uzbekistan and other regional countries. He also worked with Palestine for the last 25 years. He collaborated with Palestine, including missions to Gaza in 22 and 23. Committed. He's especially proud of what he has done in Palestine. So we are. I need to welcome him. I invite you to listen, learn, engage actively in this discussion. Together, we can imagine the future of our urban heritage cities. So the floor is yours. Welcome, Victor.
Okay, okay, thank you very, very much. You can move to first slide. First of all, I have to apologize. I have thousands of photos from all over the world. I have been to 72 countries in my 35 years experience. I have done a lot of work with UNESCO, and I have done a lot of work with conflict areas. That is my specialty in trying to resolve certain issues related to heritage, but also to try and help those countries that after a period of conflict are starting again, like Somalia. You cannot move these slides. I have to apologize because unfortunately at the moment I'm extremely busy because we are finalizing two dossiers, as he said, for Azerbaijan and Uzbekistan, and they have to present the preliminary dossier by the end of September. So within 1 week they have to present the initial dossier. So we are very, very busy. I have had a very, very long career with UNESCO, even as ambassador, and I am very proud that last year I was very much with ICROM and ICOMOS as explained, and the Historic Towns Committee. I was special advisor to the Director General of ICROM, and last year I was chosen by UNESCO as one of 6 experts in the world to give advice to UNESCO in what is called the open-ended working group on the future of World Heritage. This open-ended working group is working to make the process easier and more practical, and also to find ways to assist those countries like Somalia, who either have no site on the World Heritage List or only have 1 or 2. Though we have been working a lot, but with the representation of African and Arab countries on the World Heritage List is not as much as it should be. Next slide. Yeah. I have to move with my slides. Okay. Well, first of all, I wish to explain this very importantly, because our country, my country, Malta, has been through very much what other colonial countries have been through. And in the past, heritage was not given a lot of importance, mainly because the idea was that heritage was a colonial, part of the colonial past. But in reality, heritage may have been done in the colonial part, not all of it, of course, but it was always the work of local craftsmen who built the architecture, who were involved in what was happening in the country. So you cannot consider it as part of the colonial period. You have to look at it as part of what makes you a nation. Because what makes a nation? The territory, the language, normally, and its heritage. Those are the 3 elements that make up a nation. So heritage is a very, very important element in what makes a nation. We mentioned Palestine. Palestine, as you know, has enormous problems with the territory because it is occupied, but the heritage is Palestinian heritage. And something which is very important, no, keep the other one, please. Go back. Something which is very important is that there is no country which has no heritage. It may be different heritage, but every country has heritage, both tangible and intangible. And in the past, the idea of heritage was something very monumental, like a big mosque or a big cathedral. So that was considered heritage. This has, of course, been overtaken since many years because heritage is whatever there is in the country, whatever archaeology and architecture the country has. And it does not have to be monumental. And this is the problem why there are so few sites on the World Heritage List from Africa, because a lot of the African heritage is not, shall we say, monumental. Unfortunately, as well, we have to say that the people who worked at UNESCO, the people who did the evaluation missions, the people who wrote about heritage, many times ignored African heritage because they did not consider it so monumental, and heritage was considered very much from what we call a European perspective. But this has changed a lot, of course, as we all know. And now there is a big movement to increase the visibility of African sites, especially, but also in parts of the Arab region. And that is why the work being done by UNESCO, which is the Islamic, shall we say, UNESCO, is extremely important because they are doing a lot to make sure that these countries are well represented. In fact, at the moment, as he explained, I am mainly working in Azerbaijan and Uzbekistan, mainly with Islamic heritage. Uzbekistan also has some Buddhist heritage because it was on the Silk Road, but their main heritage is Islamic heritage. And there is nothing wrong as well with saying that the colonial heritage you have is part of your heritage because it is part of your history. You cannot change your history. So there's nothing wrong also with giving visibility to even the colonial heritage. Next slide. One thing very important, and that is why your NGO is so important. You can have many laws that speak about the protection of heritage, but experience has shown that unless the local people believe in that heritage and want to protect it, it will not be protected. And many mistakes have been done because the local population did not know enough about their heritage. So, for instance, this tour that you have done, and which has been mentioned, is extremely important because when you explain to people what is that heritage and why it relates to your country, people will appreciate it more and will make sure that they want to protect it. So first and foremost, knowledge, of course, is the most important element in protecting heritage. And this is something you have to work on. And I particularly wish to emphasize that you should also be working with schools, with young people, young students, because it's important that they learn about heritage from an early stage. I had a big problem with Diyarbakir in Turkey. Diyarbakir in Turkey was twice nominated for World Heritage. It was not accepted for various reasons. And then I was asked to help. And I wanted to emphasize not only the city, but the city and the environment around it. And I wanted to emphasize that the heritage they have, which is partly Arabic, but partly Kurdish, of course, partly Turkish, but partly Turkish, but partly Kurdish, is part of their own heritage. So one of the things that we did was we made T-shirts for young students in Kurdish, which said, "I love my heritage." And we took them around to explain that even though some of the heritage may not be Kurdish, but it is still part of their city, and they should protect it, and they should know about it and love it. And I think it's very, very important to start from that early stage. Next slide. Somalia has just started, and I admire you for going down this road, because I think it's very important for the image of Somalia to have World Heritage sites, and I hope that the Ministry of Culture is working on this. I am sure that you have many more sites that can be nominated. Of course, unfortunately, I do not know enough. I didn't have enough time to do as much research as I wanted. I'm sure you have more natural sites, but I'm sure you have also architectural sites which needs to be protected. So this is one thing that you have to continue working on your tentative list. 3 sites seems very little, but I'm sure that you can add on to this tentative list. It's a very easy procedure, though you have to prepare a dossier, a preliminary dossier, and even preparing a dossier helps you a lot to understand the importance of the sites. So the process to apply for UNESCO World Heritage also is very good because it helps you to understand better your heritage, the problems that there are, and so on. Next slide. There is, of course, a difference between natural sites and cultural sites, but there are some things which are the same. And one of them is, of course, documentation. This is one of the main elements that you have to work on. Nowadays, with modern technology, it is easier to work on documentation. Documentation is important both to know your sites better, but also to understand what the problems are. And it is from your documentation that the most important elements for UNESCO comes out, what we call outstanding universal values. What are OUV, outstanding universal values? They are the attributes of your heritage, which makes that heritage important not only for Somalia, but also for the history of mankind. The World Heritage List is not about the most important heritage. It is about the heritage that has contributed to the history of mankind. And I am sure that even Somalia has contributed a lot to the history of mankind, even because of its position, but also because of its past history. So that is something that you need to try and understand. What is it that makes these sites have special value? Of course, what we call state of conservation is extremely important. And this can only be done if you have trained people, both for natural sites and for architectural sites. I wrote here, yes, restoration costs money. And I know that Somalia is, of course, just starting to come out from a difficult period. So, yes, it is not easy. But also you have to think that when you train people for conservation, you are also giving them a possibility of work in the future. This is what we did also in Gaza, for instance. In Gaza, besides trying to protect heritage, most of which has been destroyed, unfortunately, there is only one site that has not been touched, and which I did the dossier for last year, and which was approved last year. It's an old monastery, and hopefully they will not touch it, but otherwise they have destroyed almost everything. But at least we have the documentation of what there was, and we involved local people because it's important to work with local people. Don't accept that foreigners come and think they know everything. You know your heritage more than the foreigners do. A foreign expert may help you, may direct you, but you know your heritage much more than them. And you have to think that when you are training people, you are training them for the possibility of a job in the future. Next slide. There is, of course, a big difference between natural and cultural sites, but there are certain elements which are the same. I will not go into detail, but we can discuss that. Of course, in natural sites, it's how much you manage to keep the authenticity of the natural elements, which is very, very important, including both fauna and animals, and in how this is managed. In cultural sites, there is more importance to the state of conservation of the sites, but there are also elements which are similar with natural sites. And by the way, I made a note here. I saw that on your tentative list you have this lighthouse, which is partly Portuguese heritage. I don't know if you have ever attempted to get funding from the Gulbenkian Foundation. The Gulbenkian Foundation in Lisbon, in Portugal, has helped a lot to restore buildings that had a connection with Portugal in the past. And they have done a lot of restoration in North Africa, even in Africa, even in Arab countries, of sites that had partly a Portuguese element in them. Eventually, I can help you in this because I have collaborated with the Gulbenkian Foundation in the past. It's a very rich foundation, and it is something worth looking into. Maybe we can discuss after this small presentation. It's a very short presentation. Next. Okay, so I come from Malta. Malta is a small country of 500,000 people, right in the middle of the Mediterranean. We are very linked to Europe, but we also have, we like to say that we have one foot in Europe and one foot in Africa, because we are very close to Libya. Tripoli is only 50 minutes by air from Malta. And we have a very long history going back to Neolithic period. I know that Somalia also has a very long history, maybe not as studied as much, but you do have a long history. When I started my project in 1987, a lot of the heritage sites were not in a very good state of conservation. As I said, people looked at a lot of the heritage as part of the colonial period. So it took a long time to convince people that this heritage may have been done in colonial period, but was built by your own craftsmen, by your own workmen, and it is your heritage as well. It uses local materials. It uses type of architecture that is adapted to your weather, etc. So it is part of your heritage. And slowly, the government realized that one of the most important elements to increase our economy was tourism, and tourism has exploded in Malta from almost nothing, and today we have so many tourists, and it has become the number one economic activity in Malta. And that is also thanks to all the restoration work that was done. I was responsible for 20 years for all the heritage cities. And when we started the work, there was very little money, but slowly this money increased as people realized how important restoration is. And we did a lot of work between the government and also the private sector, because the private sector invested money as well so as to increase tourism. This is a very good way to ensure that you will have enough finance to do your work. But there are a lot of possibilities, even with UNESCO. You just have to, unfortunately, know about them. There is the African Fund. There are a lot of possibilities, even with important foundations like the Alif Foundation and ICROM itself, because Italy gives a lot of money for restoration. So there are possibilities, not only from local financing. This is what I want to emphasize. Next slide. Okay. The most important element of everything is managing your heritage. This is extremely important. Again, when we started the work in Malta, there was no management systems. We just did a project here and there, and we did not involve a lot of people, a lot of stakeholders, but I made a system where, which was then copied in many countries, in which we involved a lot all the sectors of society. All the sectors of society. This is extremely important, and for me is the main success of the work that I have done. And I have always insisted that there should be a steering committee to discuss what projects should be done and how they are going to be directed. And of course, a technical committee of architects, archaeologists, and engineers mainly, but also other people who will actually do the work. And as time passed, more and more people studied restoration, and more people could be involved. And today, we have one of the best management systems for these projects. So they are run by the government, but the government allows a lot of participation from the private sector, from universities, academics, the commercial sector, even religious representatives, because of course a lot of important buildings are religious. The more it is open, the management system, the more it can have success. That is my presentation, because I prefer to have discussion with you rather than talk at length. So thank you very much for listening to me for now.
Thank you, Dr. Raymond, for your insights. It was very interesting and very useful information, by the way. And I hope we as a Somalis, because most of the people here in our session are Somalis. Mostly, fortunately, they are most of them. They are under the 35 years. Almost, they are young generation. They're youth.
Very good.
So, and we here in Somalia, most of things I have already told you. Most of things are youth-led initiatives. So the future is now. I can say, hey, the future is now. Before proceeding to the question and answering session, let me try to answer one of the questions in the presentation. The one was saying, have you ever gotten some funds from the Portuguese institution? Obviously, no. But in my experience, 3 years ago, we tried, me and my friend, the one who I said to you, he worked with the Chairperson Cultural Heritage Center. We contacted to the Portuguese Maritime Museum. At that time, we were trying to find the documents related to the Portuguese presence in the Horn of Africa. At that time, we tried to contact them. They welcomed us. Also, we worked with the Department of Heritage, Lisbon University. So it was a good opportunity to know, to learn that there is a Portuguese foundation who at least help the countries and the institutions to rebuild the Portuguese influence in their countries. Thank you, because we have many Portuguese remains here in Somalia, starting from
because they were in all the coasts. They built everywhere, all over the coasts, including Iran, everywhere, all in the whole area. And but the most rich foundation is the Gulbenkian Foundation, and the Gulbenkian Foundation has given a lot of money to Portuguese heritage, a lot of money, even in Malta, but in everywhere, in North Africa, in Morocco, Algeria, everywhere where there is, but also in Africa, where there is some kind of link to Portuguese heritage, they help a lot. Okay, nothing is easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but they are the richest foundation. I do have contacts. Of course, people change in time, but I can try to help you in future to contact them. And they are based in Lisbon.
Thank you for your kind words. Then we will proceed to the next session, which is the Q and answering session. So please feel free to raise your hand to ask. Otherwise, you can also write down your question below. So far we have several questions. One of them from Abdurrahman Kaisal, he says, how can we protect our heritage sites if the government itself is destroying it? I mean, what can we do about that, sir? The Somali government destroyed many
Okay.
cultural heritage sites located in Murwani district. It's replaced with a new building. That's my question. His question concerns about the recently destruction of heritage sites in one of the oldest neighborhoods in the Horn of Africa, Hamrwene. So he's asking that question.
Okay. First of all, I was for many years I specialized in historic cities. So that was my specialty, and I was, as I said, the president of the ICOMOS Committee for Historic Towns and Villages, and we did a lot of work. And one thing I always said in the beginning, that no city is a museum. A city is a living area. Needs of the people change. People need more banks, more shops, more offices. So there is a lot of pressure on historic cities to create new buildings. And I do not know enough about your architecture, but normally the main problem is that the architecture that there is not very big, shall we say, for a big company. So they feel the space is too small and they need to build a new building. Well, first of all, you have to convince your government. I mean, you have to convince your government to pass legislation that is protecting your heritage buildings, and that you have to convince, and not this is not easy, but you have to convince them that heritage buildings is not, as they think, a financial burden because you have to restore them and take care of them. You have to look at heritage as a financial asset, something that will bring in more money in the future. And what is the future of the old city of Mogadishu? One of them will be tourism. Tourism is growing everywhere. Tourism is the modern tourist is looking for new places to visit. Yes, of course, you need hotels, and you can adapt historic buildings to what we call boutique hotels in Europe, so small hotels. And the important thing about that is that tourism and hotels and restaurants bring jobs. That is the most important. And they bring in money. Tourists bring in foreign currency, bring in money, and you have to allow it to grow slowly. It can't be done immediately. And for tourism to grow, you have to protect your heritage. People will not come to Mogadishu as if they are going to Dubai. I'm sorry. If they want skyscrapers, they go to Dubai. But if they want authentic African old cities, they can come to Mogadishu. Even Dubai and the Emirates are trying now, after they destroyed a lot of heritage, to protect the heritage they have. Even Saudi Arabia, which is one of the richest countries in the world, is making sure now, after many years in which they just built new buildings, to protect their heritage, and they are slowly seeing even tourism going to places like Saudi Arabia. In Dubai and in the Emirates, they realized that even though they have beautiful new buildings, but at the same time, the tourists want to see as well the heritage sites. So I do not know enough. It is you who have to uh, identify the heritage that should be protected, and then to start from there, trying to build up interest and visibility in that heritage. Of course, UNESCO can help a lot in this, as can the other organizations. We mentioned UNESCO, the Islamic UNESCO, based in Morocco. They have their own list of heritage sites. I have made helped in dossiers for this as well, and most of the Arab countries, most of the Islamic countries nowadays are asking the help of UNESCO to protect their heritage sites, because they realize that if you lose that heritage, you have lost everything. I'm sorry. You have lost everything. I repeat, Mogadishu would never be Dubai, can never be. But yes, it has heritage, and people can come to see that heritage, especially if, as in your case, you have a lot of natural sites. You can combine the visit to heritage sites in the city with visits to the natural sites. Nothing is easy. I'm saying, I don't want to say nothing is easy, but you have to convince people. You have to convince the government about this.
Thank you, Doctor. As you mentioned, convincing the government is the best way to at least reduce the destruction going on here. As Hayaan, we took several steps to at least reduce the damage. For example, we met with different stakeholders, including members of the municipal. We made the ministries related to this matter. We also made the community. We organized programs. For example, 19th of June, we organized a program, community program. It was an awareness program. We meant to at least raise
community outreach is very important.
Sorry?
Community outreach is extremely important.
Of course. We also
and also when you take school children to see heritage and explain why it is part of your heritage, school children will go home and tell their parents, today they took us to see this beautiful building, this beautiful old quarter. It can be falling down, but it's still important. And children would teach their parents on the importance of this heritage. That is why I emphasize a lot that you take school children as well. If you are allowed, of course.
Very interesting. By the way, last month we have joined as Hayaan, as a Somali chapter. Reconnect with your culture movement. It's a global.
I didn't get
there is a reconnect with your culture a movement. Started from Italy and India. But now it's a global movement, teaching young people, young kids, for example, starting from 5 to all the way to 18, taking them to the historical sites and teaching them something like that. We didn't start, but at least we joined, and we are preparing to organize the first.
What is it called?
To connect with your culture.
Okay.
Let me write.
Okay. There is also something very interesting, and it works a lot, which is part of UNESCO, which is UNESCO schools. It's schools that, through the National Commission, become part of this network of UNESCO. And the schools love it. They love to be called UNESCO school, and it helps to give as well visibility to young people about heritage.
Interesting. Then we have thank you, Victor. We have also other friends who want to ask. First, Mohammed Sawini, you raised your hand, please.
Yes.
Mohammed raised his hand. We will back. There are other questions in the section below. Go ahead, Mohammed.
Yes, every person can hear me.
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. I'm asking the professor if some building destroyed or collapsed, if there is any way it can return.
Well, I have to admit, restoration costs money. There is no doubt about it. But again, there are possibilities of funding for restoration work, and the restoration work is important because it gives local tradesmen who are builders and who know how to use the stone material and the mortars that you use in Somalia to continue the traditions of building in a traditional way. So yes, it does cost money, but also it can be a way to give employment to old tradesmen and to train young tradesmen. Now, where does the money come from? That is the big question. There are, I repeat, possibilities of funding from a number of organizations. For instance, ICROM in Rome have just started a new project for Africa, which is financed by Italian government. And there are opportunities. It's not easy for me to say that all of them here now, but we can continue the discussion with your organization after I do have time to do more research on Somalia, because I have to admit I know very little about Somalia, very, very little. So we have to see what possibilities there are, but there are possibilities, I assure you. Plus, plus also, what is important is that I don't know if I don't think Somalia is a member of ICROM in Rome. ICROM was started by UNESCO for training mainly. So they train people in restoring stone, they train people in restoring wood. They are specialized courses, and they do help students from Africa. But as I said, there is a list of these organizations, and one will have to look more for practical ways of joining and so on. It does not cost money for the government. You can try and convince them that you can try and get some funding from abroad. But as I said, I need to find the time to go into this more and discuss with your organization these possibilities so that you can present it to the government.
Thank you, dear.
So,
For your
yeah, so because of we, Abdel,
go ahead, Ahmed.
because of we, as a Somali, we afraid to lose some buildings. That's why I'm asking the question is because of like Hamroin in Mogadishu, a lot of buildings is already destroyed. So my worry is if there is an hope. So if there is hope, no problems. Yeah, that's good news.
Thank you, ma'am. There are a lot of ways to solve this. Most of some of the buildings are already documented by UNESCO, late 80s.
Okay.
That's one of the fortunes we have, but unfortunately, we are not member. We are not member of ECROM, both ECROM and ECOMOS. Last year, I met with the ECOMOS team in Mombasa.
Okay.
So they were good. They were hoping to join Somalia. We tried, and I hope we will continue to the efforts of joining the international bodies mandated to this matter and the international legal frameworks related to the matter. So there are many people who raised their hand. Naji Films, Naji, you raised your hand. Go ahead, please. Naji? If Naji is not around, there are questions like Nasta bint Bashir asked a question. There are Nilotic sites in Somalia that hold very important values, both in African archaeology and in Somali archaeology, particularly. Sites that qualify for UNESCO and are very vulnerable at the moment. There is no restoration, reconstruction, or conservation and preservation done currently. How can we go about that since there is no much research done on it and not enough reports available? What steps must be taken urgently to preserve and protect? That's the NASA's question.
Well, archaeology is always extremely important, of course, because it is a reflection of the first years of a country. So archaeology is very, very important, especially Neolithic, because there are a lot of Neolithic sites everywhere. A lot of them are abandoned or not given importance, but they are a very important part of your heritage, and they have they have similarities with other sites that exist. For instance, at the moment, I am working on this site in Azerbaijan, which are prehistoric caves, and we don't have enough proof, but probably they were the first Africans that moved from Africa through the Middle East, through places like the Emirates and all that area, and they moved up to the eastern countries because of climate changes. We know that there was this big movement. We know that the first people in these countries, even in parts of Europe, like Spain, were what we call hominids that went up from Africa, probably because of climate change. So there are contacts, heritage contacts, even with other countries. Of course, I do not know enough about these sites, Normally, archaeological sites do not have that big expense because they are there. Normally, they are in fields or in the countryside, but it would be very good to document what there is so that you would know if they are touched or destroyed, and then try to find comparisons with other countries. You would not believe how much comparisons there are with other countries. And there is even the possibility I do not know the situation in Somalia with your neighbors, but sometimes it is good to have, because I just want to say this, heritage has no boundaries, okay? Especially in prehistory, there was no boundaries. So some sites can be in Somalia and can be also in another country close by. And UNESCO gives a lot of importance to what are called transboundary nominations. That is, nominations coming from more than one country. Because the heritage had no boundaries. Boundaries are normally were made in the colonial period. Before there was not this type of distinction, but I do not know enough. We have to study it more. The other thing is one of the ways to, shall we say, to pressure the government to protect more its heritage is by creating groups on social media. I have groups on Facebook, for instance, which we used to force some governments to say, look, this is extremely important. At the moment, thanks to my work, we saved a site in Sicily, in Italy, that was going to be destroyed by an electric company. There are some tombs. And it all started from a Facebook page, nothing more. And this pressured the government, pressured the local municipality, and so on, to protect it. So there are ways of doing it nowadays, even more than before. But as I said, I do not know enough. Of course, I have to know more. But please don't give up and try and give publicity to these sites. Neolithic sites in particular and rock art are very, very much looked favorably by UNESCO, very much.
Thank you for your kind words. We will proceed to the other questions. Of course, we have our friend Abdurrahman Dekwa from Mombasa. They have their own experience of preserving cultural heritage, especially the Azanian heritage, which he has been working on for a long time. I hope Abdurrahman will at least add some of his experience if he's available. We also have other friends who raise their hands, like Naji. Come again. Naji, yes. Come again.
Thank you so much. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, you are audible.
I would like to thank Hayaan Heritage for organizing this valuable meeting and inviting Dr. Raymond, who is expert in this section, especially the preservation and heritage. My question is, we have in Somalia conflict between preservation and development. At the moment, like district Hamrwena, there is many heritage mosques, old mosques and other sites, but it's still going on the high rise of buildings, tall buildings to cover the site. So do you think we need to pressure the government to ban that building high rise buildings so people can view from afar? In UK, they have similar, like I live in London. There is a law article called view of the St. Paul church in here. You can't build building taller than that one, or
exactly.
It's something like that's my question. Thank you. You already get it.
Well, listen. There is a problem all over the world with the pressure from the people who have money, developers who want to build new buildings. It's a big problem everywhere, even in my country. It's a big problem. And it can only be protected two ways. One is by passing laws, of course. We have what are called urban conservation areas, where you cannot touch anything, or you can touch, but with limitations. But I always find that the main problem is people think that just by building new buildings, you are going to improve your country. It's not like that. A country needs new development. Yes, every country needs new development. But the protection of heritage is the ruh, the soul of your country. And everything must be done to protect what there is left. Now, what has been lost, but what there is left has to be protected. And you can only do that by giving visibility, by documenting and showing to the people that this is part of what makes Somalia a nation different from other nations. If we all build skyscrapers, if we all become Dubai, what is left in that countries? Nothing. Yes, some developers will become very rich, but the country doesn't gain. And I am sure that there are space in Mogadishu where people can build without destroying the old heritage. So documentation and visibility, that is the main thing. And I think today, I repeat, through Facebook, through Instagram, through WhatsApp groups, we can pressure the government to protect what there is left. But I don't know enough about Somalia to be able to. I don't like to pass judgment, of course, because it's not a question of passing judgment. But let us try to protect what there is. And please, I hope that this meeting of today is only a first meeting, that we will continue this discussion, especially if I am shown this type of heritage that can be protected, so that we can try and find ways of how you can protect the heritage. And by the way, old buildings doesn't mean you can use them only for a museum. You can use them for shops. You can use them, I don't know, to have a gym, have a small school. You can use them in many ways. People think that old buildings are of no use. It's not true. They can be of use, and restoring a building will cost cheaper than building a new big building. But let us continue this discussion, maybe with examples, and to try and find ways of finding why we should protect those buildings, especially if you are able to know roughly the period when they were built. That is very important. The history of a historic area or historic buildings is very important. I'm not saying some modern buildings are important as well. Dar es Salaam, or certain cities in Africa, even colonial cities, Italian colonial cities, are important. Doesn't mean because they were built 70 years ago they are not important. But if you know the age of the buildings, it can be easier as well to try and convince. I think the main idea should be this. If we are all looking like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, people will not go to Mogadishu. I'm sorry. But if there is heritage, people will come. A combination of heritage, the sea, and the natural sites together. I think you have the most easy way for tourism. You have the longest coast in Africa. I see big possibilities there. And of course, there they can build hotels or they can build whatever they want. But let's continue discussing other people. There was Mubarak.
Oh, thank you. Yes, Mubarak raised his hand. So Mubarak, the floor is yours. Please welcome.
Okay, can I be heard?
Yes.
Okay, I agree to Hayaan Heritage and I thank your professor for starting your for
I'm
sharing
not a
your
professor.
knowledge with us.
I have
My
a
name is-
doctorate, but I'm not a professor. I was never an academic.
Okay.
I prefer to dirty my hands with restoring buildings.
Okay. My name is Mubarak Abdulrahman Ahmed, and I founded for Sarwa Institute for Policy Study. My question is, how can a conflict between a historical property owner and a local authority be effective managing and resolving? Okay, thank you.
Well, first of all, I do not know how much you are involving your universities. Normally, at universities, there are academics that are more easy to convince, shall we say, of the importance of heritage. But I do not know that. I do not know if there are any schools or any other institutions that teach restoration. Because restoration can give the possibility of jobs. That is very important to emphasize with young people, because after all, everyone is the same in the world. Everyone wants to have enough money to have a family and to move ahead and to buy a bigger car, etc. So jobs are extremely important. And as I said, you have to convince that heritage is a financial asset, that it is something that will give an economic return. If we don't manage to convince that, then we are lost. We have to convince that restoring a building, restoring an area can be an asset. And I have heard about your tour in historic parts, and I'm sure people were impressed. I'm sure people did not know about the importance of this heritage. So when you give visibility through the social media, through Facebook and all this, WhatsApp and all this, you can manage to convince more people. It is not an easy process. It's a slow process, but you have to start. And starting from an NGO like you is the best way, especially if you give information to the government from where they can get funding. So we have to work together, if I may say so, maybe even in conclusion. We have to work together to build up information from where you can get money to protect your heritage, and then convince the government. Because if you go to the government with something already planned, it's much easier than just saying you have to protect your heritage. So you have to make some kind of document, but you have to show also that there are possibilities of funding. That is the only way. Even if It would take time. It's not going to be from today to tomorrow. But if we show that there is possibility of funding, and I suppose there is interest in UNESCO because you have already started to build up your tentative list. You have only 3 sites, but it can be increased. So I presume there is interest from the government to have international recognition of your heritage. Otherwise, they wouldn't make a tentative list. I'm sure there are many more sites, but I do not know enough.
Of course, there are many sites to deserve to be documented and inscribed to the UNESCO World Heritage List. Recently, for my information, there is ongoing UNESCO effort to restoration of effort. They are planning to restore the Mogadishu Lighthouse. It's funded by Alif, Alif Foundation.
Alif Foundation, I know very well. I went to Gaza the first time as financed by the Alif Foundation, and they have increased the funding for Africa a lot.
Of course,
and I know very well, very well. The head of the scientific committee, who is Algerian, Munir Bouchanaki, who for many years worked with UNESCO, and he's a big friend of mine, and he is the chairman of the scientific committee of Aleph Foundation. And they are one of the biggest foundations, and they have a lot of funding and a lot of funding for Africa.
Unfortunately, it's the second time they are implementing a project here in Somalia. The first one was in Somaliland, northern part of the country, and the other one is the ongoing one going here in Mogadishu. Fortunately, last week, the head of regional, the advisor of UNESCO's regional culture office was here in Mogadishu, and some other Alif members to evaluate and assess the other phases of the project. I hope many other projects will come.
So you have already applied to the Alif Foundation?
As our Hayaan Foundation, Hayaan?
Sorry?
You said you have already applied
for funding?
As a Somalia or as a Hayaan, our organization?
It doesn't matter.
We have already applied. We are applied through NATCOM and Somali Cultural Academy. So it's ongoing project. Let's proceed to the other questions. I hope we are heading to the conclusion of our session. Ambassador Haji Ilmi is asking, in managing urban heritage cities, what strategies can be employed to balance the preservation of cultural heritage with the demands of modern urban developments, ensuring that historical identity is not compromised? He asked.
Well, I have already, I think, explained this. There is pressure for new development all over the world, even in very historic cities like Rome and Paris. But there is a lot of control over what you can build. If you go to Paris, for instance, there is a big area where you cannot build new buildings, only the ones that there are. There are some mistakes from the past, not a lot, but it's fixed. So you cannot destroy buildings even quite recent, but that have a special are of good quality. Of course, I mean, I am repeating, but you have to convince the government that heritage is to its advantage, not the other way around. Many governments look at heritage as a big financial burden because they tell you have to spend money for restoration and so on. But you can, yes, use heritage buildings, even for modern use. As I said, offices, banks, shops, even accommodation. Sometimes it depends on how big they are. Sometimes you can even use them for expensive accommodation. People prefer to go in a well-restored old building than a big high-rise, for instance. It is more difficult for a country like Somalia. Why? Because Somalia has suffered so much in the past. So now suddenly that everything is going well, people want more modern buildings. That is very normal. That has happened in many, many countries. But it is now the time to convince your government to protect what needs to be protected. So yes, you have to decide. You cannot protect all. Forget it. You cannot protect all. You have to ensure to protect the most important heritage sites, the most important heritage buildings, even if they are not in a good state of conservation. But it has to be documented, and you have to start a campaign to protect them. Nothing is easy, but you have to start. I'm sorry, I wish I could tell more, but I do not know enough. I'm sorry. I have to see, at least I have to see some photos of these old buildings. Otherwise, I cannot really judge what to reuse, because many times it's how you are going to reuse those old buildings, which is important. You cannot just say restore a building without reusing it. Nowadays, we do not restore an old building, whatever it is, without first deciding what you are going to use it for.
Of course. It was interesting, by the way.
In the past, it was different, but nowadays, no one would do that. No one, unless you say, for instance, you're going to use this area for a museum of the history of Somalia. You're going to make a museum, I don't know, of fishing, of trading. I mean, Somalia is in a position which is extremely important. And it is important as well to improve your image. As I said before we started, Ahmed, if you Google Somalia, all you get is this is a very dangerous place, you shouldn't go there, no one should go there, etc., etc. So you need to work on improving the image of Somalia, and the government must be convinced of this, and part of that is by protecting and restoring your old buildings.
Thank you for your kind. I hope we will convey this message, and we will implement it by trying to preserve, to correct the perception of other people in Somalia. So thank you. I hope if there is no other question or someone.
Mubarak.
Okay.
Mubarak and Adam.
And Adam. Yusuf
Okay.
Adam. Go ahead.
Okay. For example, in other regions, Somaliland, many historical houses and valuable historical assets are being restored. So, like Qiblatin Mosque and so on. Okay, and can we work together to address this? And what is the role of international cooperation such as UNESCO and so on in urban heritages? Okay, thank you.
Well, first of all, I make it very clear: UNESCO will only protect or try to protect sites that are on the World Heritage List. Otherwise, forget it. They don't have the time. They don't. There are so many sites in the world. They don't have the time. So getting areas on the World Heritage List is the best way to protect them. But it's a process. The dossiers are not very difficult. And by the way, when I say I made many dossiers, I do not do everything myself. I always work with a local team. I am not the kind of person, there are persons who will tell you, I will come with 2 or 3 of my students and we will prepare the dossier and you can pay us a lot of money. That is not the way I work. I'm not working for money. I like to help countries that need help. Yes, I do work for money, but with countries that have money. But I always work with the local team, always. It is the local team that knows the importance of certain sites, but UNESCO will not help you in that matter. There are, however, also, and this is important for the country, there are other ways of protecting the heritage through other programs. Of course, the most well-known in the world is the World Heritage List, but it takes time. It takes 2-3 years. So there are other possibilities. One of them, for instance, is called Creative Cities. You can look it up, UNESCO Creative Cities. And that can be for things like food, for things like traditional crafts, traditional ways of doing things. It's quite an easy way, and you still get the name UNESCO, but it's called UNESCO Creative Cities. It's still UNESCO, and you can still pressure the government to say, we are a creative city, so, you should do more to protect our heritage. There are other programs. There is something called, for instance, the Memory of Mankind. Memory of Mankind program is for documents which are of a certain importance in the history. And if you get that on the Memory of Mankind list, you can say this building was, I don't know, an important building for Portuguese trade or I don't know what. There are other programs, but I cannot tell them, in 1 hour like this. We have to work together. I can prepare something, and maybe Ahmed, we do another meeting. I don't know, in a month or 2. We can try to do that, and I can try and present these possibilities. But I need time to research them. I mean, I can't do them in 2 weeks. I was too busy with these 2 dossiers. I'm sorry.
Thank you. It was pleasure for us to be here with all these tasks. So we appreciate, by the way, and we will have another sessions in the future. And when you have enough time to build there, enough time to at least prepare something more important than the one we have done today, which was very interesting, by the way. So
can you give me more information about this application with Alif so that I can try and push it?
Sorry?
Can you give me more information about this application with the Aleph Foundation so that I can see if I can push it?
Of course, sure. I can even share with you the information. They are restoring a lighthouse, a building, one of the
I know
oldest.
the lighthouse. I know the lighthouse.
The lighthouse. So they started the process of the rebuilding. They assessed. They took some of the samples of the stones of the building. Then they took it into the India, to measure. They took it to the laboratory. Then we are waiting the result. They came here with UNESCO 2 times this year. When the first one was the first time was May, and the second time was this month. Actually, last week. So the file is working both National Commission and Somali Academy, Somali Culture Academy.
Okay.
So I will share with you the information, the other information related to the.
Do you know who came from Aleph to evaluate?
No. Since I'm not working with the NatCom at this time, I only I got it as information, but I wasn't dealing with them. But I know that when the experts from UNESCO, one of them was Masanori. My friend Abdurrahman knows Masanori. He's a regional advisor to the cultural sector. UNESCO's Eastern Africa's cultural office.
Okay.
So I can share with the other.
Adam wants to say something because we are coming. Adam, because it's coming late.
It's coming late. It's coming late. Adam, Yusuf, you raise your hand if you have a question. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
of course. Yes, go ahead.
So, if I thank you first, thank you, Hayaan Heritage and Doctor. So, if I ask you a question about the laws protecting historical sites, so what are the laws or policies are needed to protect the world's historical in international law, or are there any legal professions that will punish those who destroy historical sites for their own personal gain? So is there any legal about that?
Well, there are a number of what we call international charters, which give the basic principles to how you should protect your sites. But the laws have to be local laws. They cannot be international laws. They have to be local laws. But there are important charters that one is to follow. Both old charters, but also relatively new charters. For instance, one is called a UNESCO document called the Historic Urban Landscape. I can send a copy to Ahmed if necessary, which is one of the more recent charters that are given importance. But then it is the local government that has to pass the laws. I'm sorry, but that is the way it is done. Of course, if a site is on the UNESCO World Heritage List, then yes, there are a lot of principles in what is called the operational guidelines, which any site on the World Heritage List has to follow. So that is why it is very important to get sites on the World Heritage List, because that puts pressure on the government to follow these principles.
I have a use of your a question where it was answered. As time is, it's getting late, and we will end the season here. Thank you for everyone for your focus this Sunday evening. Our season is now over. We will have to stop here. Thank you all. Especially, I would like to thank Dr. Raymond. Raymond, you gave us great time. We appreciate your insights, your commitment, and your humbleness. Thank you. I hope we will have other sessions, other collaborations in the future. For that, I would like to thank you on behalf of Hayaan Heritage, on behalf of Somalis. So thank you for your time, and I would also like to thank other friends who stayed with us and participate this wonderful discussion. Thank you again, and have a nice night.
Well,
Bye bye.
for me, it's an honor to help Somalia. I mean it, and I mean it when I say, I'm doing this without any interest whatsoever. So it would be an honor for me to do it. And I think, yes, we should give some time and meet again, maybe in 2 months' time, when it will be easier for me because I have other work, and we can recuperate where we were, and give you examples, for instance, of financing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Have a nice night and have a nice weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.